welcome to the Blancpain GT Series Asia. The qualifying for the first race of the season is all set to go down. My name is Renai Matu. It's a pleasure to be here at Sepang International Circuit. It would be my home track if I was a driver here, but I'm not. There are 60 drivers all ready to get going today. To hear a little bit more about them, I've got David Addison, our commentator. David, how are you doing today?
All good, Renai, thanks. Looking down onto the track, getting ready for the cars to make their way down the pit lane in readiness for this first part of qualifying. The system is such that it's one driver per session, and the session that you take part in will be the grid for the race that you will start. So each driver gets an opportunity to set a qualifying time. It's a great entry. Looking down the pit lane, we've got 8 different brands represented. 98 nearest to us is the Arrows Racing Porsche Philippe Marr and Fairouz Fauzi, the familiar name Fairouz Fauzi from his days in European single-seater racing, but the Porsche, one of the 8 different brands, as I say, represented across 2 classes, GT3 and GT4, that we have this weekend as well, because GT4, the entry level into GT racing, is a burgeoning category. There are standalone championships in parts of Europe, and there's going to be a class within the Blancpain GT Series Asia for GT4 cars this year. It's largely Porsche dominated. Quite often it's been Ginettas or other low volume producers, but the Porsche Cayman GT4 Club Sport is the car du jour, and the entry dominated by local teams with local drivers, with the exception of the French driver Jean-Marc Merlin, even though he's based in this region. He's French by birth, but it's all exclusively Porsche Caymans. But you've got Lamborghini, Audi, Ferrari, Aston Martin, BMW, Mercedes doing battle within GT3. Very competitive entry. Number 6, Alex Au and Alex Young. That car run under the banner of the Audi R8 LMS Cup. In other words, this is one of those from the Phoenix Motorsport Hans Moses squad that's been here in the past, winning the 12 hours. And that's going to be a competitive car, I would have thought, over the course of this weekend. The championship begins here, a race today, a race tomorrow. Next stop is Thailand in mid-May, then to Japan. First of 2 trips to Japan, Suzuka in June and Fuji in August, and then 2 trips to China, Shanghai in September and Zhejiang in late October. And that, of course, is where we're going to see the champions crowned. It's the same format for each weekend, 3 free practice sessions, this 2 elements of qualifying, and then 2 races, 1 Saturday and 1 on Sunday. Points in the top 10, and if you are successful, then you carry a time penalty for being in the top 3 in each division into the next race. So, for example, a race 1 winner would carry 10 seconds on the pit stop time into race 2. Pit stops, yes, there's that to factor in as well, because in a 60-minute race, the pit window opens at 25 minutes completed, closes at 35 minutes, and here, the pit stop from pit in to pit out and the driver change is 90 seconds for everybody. But then when you get to subsequent races, you start to add on that success time. Some championships do success ballast. This championship does success pit stop time. The lights are on red at the end of the pit lane, and very shortly they will flick to green and the cars will be allowed out. The teams, sweating in their overalls and the fire suits, down in the pit lane getting ready to release the cars. The Audi Hong Kong entry is Marchi Lee, who will go first, and Sean Tong Wai Fung. Sean Tong, who we've seen racing not only in the Audi R8 LMS Cup, for example, but GT races and Audi 1 make categories in Europe as well as in this region. And an ever-improving driver. You've got the likes of Rob Bell, McLaren factory driver, partnering Richard Wee in the Clearwater Racing McLaren. Only 1 McLaren in the entry, but maybe that will grow as the championship goes on. 88 and 99 there for the Craft Bamboo team. 88 is another very competitive car, Jules Gounod and Joel Camafias. 99 is Darrell Young, hugely experienced and successful GT and touring car driver, and Peter Lee, thankfully back after a big accident in Formula 3 in Austria last year. Marchi Lee looking down into his Audi, getting ready to go. And it will be a 15-minute first part to the session. Then there's a break, do the driver change, and send out that second driver for the second element. Fastest time that we have had thus far across free practice, by the way, was done this morning. It was a time set by Raffaele Marciello, who has made something of a name for himself as a GT driver in a very short space of time. He drives for the Grupper M Racing team. He drives number 999 with experienced British driver Hunter Abbott. And Raffaele Marciello did a time at 2 minutes 3.328, best time coming this morning. Marciello, who's replacing Maxi Buch for the purposes of this weekend, the Ferrari Formula 1 reserve driver, GP2 race winner, and Formula 3 European champion going back to 2013. 37 is Anthony Louis Jou and Davide Rizzo. Now, Davide Rizzo knows his way around here very effectively indeed, so he will be a gun in the second session. The fast lane in the pits is now open, so the cars released from the teams. Now, the clever ones will either get the car to the end of the pit lane first or hold it back for half a lap. You don't necessarily want to get stuck in traffic, but most people now being released down the pit lane in readiness for this session. 30 cars we have in the entry, which for a first round of a championship is very good going indeed. A huge amount of work has been put in by SRO to make the championship a success, and with it mirroring the successful format of British GT, then you can see why it is going to be a success and why it will work so effectively. So at the end of the pit lane, the cars headed by 999, which is the Gruppa M racing team, Hunter Abbott Mercedes. Gruppa M, a team with a long pedigree, but a few years away, but it's all regrouped and come back for the purposes of the Blancpain GT Series Asia. 999 is Hunter Abbott, who's returning to GT racing as well. He had a spell in the British GT Championship in Ginetta a few years ago. He spent the last couple of seasons away racing in the British Touring Car Championship, on occasions with spectacular results, as there was also in his British GT days. If Hunter has an off, it's normally one that draws the headlines, I tell you, but not to dwell on them. We had one big one at Alton Park in a GT car and a much televised touring car role at Snetterton a season ago. But Hunter is a quick driver, make no mistake about it, and he'll be one to watch in this session. Richard Wee there is ready to go in the Clearwater Racing McLaren. And we are about 2 minutes or so away from the green lights going on to release the cars. So you can see what some teams are doing, on their toes, get the cars to the end of the pit lane and try and get them to the head of the queue once the session goes green. Others just lag back, go out a bit later, buy yourself some clear track space. 86 with a drama potentially, that's Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel. Now, Mitch Gilbert knows his way around here. He's been a regular over the last couple of years in the Sepang 12 Hours, another SRO event, the Stefan Rattel organisation. And Aditya Patel, the Indian driver, former polo front runner and competitor in the Sirocco R Cup, but I'm just a bit hesitant as to why that car was being pushed back up the pit lane. This is how the circuit looks. 5.5 kilometres long, that's over 3 miles. Long pit straight, twiddly section in the first sector, speed building through sector 2 and sector 3, but then you've got the hairpins as well to factor in. So you need a car that can work well on the fast bits and work well on the tight, twisty elements of the circuit. So Hunter Abbott in 999 and 888 of Tim Sugden, who was with Gruppa M right from the word go. They're the two at the head of the queue. Tim Sugden and Jules Shimkoviak could be a dark horse as a winning car. I think Tim, massively experienced. You can trace his racing career back to the mid-1980s and karting before he went through Formula Ford. He was a BMW and Toyota driver in the British Touring Car Championship, 4th at Le Mans, won a historic, you name it, Tim has driven it pretty much over the years. Now concentrating as much on his own racing as driver management. He even had a spell a few seasons back in Formula 2 stock car racing on the ovals, but something very different for this season for him, back in proper GT racing. He's looked after Sam Tordov's career, for example, for the last couple of seasons through British Touring Cars, and now Sam into GT racing. The queue is building, and the Gruppa M cars then eager to get out and get on with this and be able to post good lap times. And with only 15 minutes and a lap of over 2 minutes, it is not going to be, of course, easy to get that many flying laps in. For example, it's going to lose you at least 2.5 minutes for an out lap. If you're at the back of the queue, you're probably looking at about 3 flying laps only, but that might be enough. Do a good time, park it, and then get the car ready for the second session. Tim Sugden and Jules Shimkoviak, though, I still think could be a force to be reckoned with. Jules, who won the Sean Edwards Award for Promising Young Drivers last year, and has gone far better in GT racing than single-seaters. He was part of the Van Amersfoort Formula 3 squad as a teammate to Max Verstappen a couple of years ago, and was rather overshadowed, as most people are, by Max Verstappen. But since he's moved to GT racing, he has shown great aplomb. KCMG looks like it might have strife. Now, which car is that? You've got, I suspect, number 19 of Naoto Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka, as the green flag is waved and the session is live, but that's a car that is not for venturing out. And I'm telling you a lie, it's 18, Rick Ewan and Martin Rump's car. So 18 with a drama, potentially. So that's one to research as the session gets underway. So 18 out late, if it goes out at all. We are live. The session is go, and straight out 999, the Gripper M Mercedes of Hunter Abbott. Raffaele Marciello will take that over for the second element of qualifying, but remember, you don't merge the times. It's one session, one grid. Tim Sugden behind. These two Mercedes, the very latest type, the AMG GT3. And a very experienced team running them. Hunter Abbott was in two minds as to what to go and race this year. Looked like his touring car career had fizzled out, for the time being at least. Should he go and race in British GT or the German GT or in this championship? And this was the one that seemed to be the most appealing. And a full season beckons. You can see how busy it's going to be, though. The GT4 Cayman. Great looking cars, those. And 117 is Nazim Azman, the Malaysian teenager who has gone very well in single-seater racing, but had a good pedigree in karts, and he's, what, 16 years of age, that's all. 11 behind is another of the GT4 Porsches, Terence Tsay. 17 for the Taiwan top speed racing team is Jeremy Wang at the wheel of it. And you're looking at the cars turning their way through turn 5. Now, one of the stars of the weekend, of course, local man Alex Young. He is in the pit lane ready to speak to Renai.
Yes, excited to see all the cars go out right now. One guy waiting to get into them is Alex Young, of course, a fan favorite here. Alex, how's everything feeling?
Pretty good. We're pretty excited, a little bit nervous. You know, first race of a brand new series, so no one's really quite sure where they're going to end up. So, yeah, definitely a few butterflies in the tummy.
You had a good time out there yesterday. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the car is feeling?
The car's feeling good. I mean, our Audi's always feeling good. But, you know, with the competition so tight, you really need your preparation to be perfect. And our preparation hasn't been quite as smooth as it could have been. So still a little bit of apprehension as we head into qualifying.
It is the first time that this is coming here. I mean, how great is it to be starting at home?
Yeah, it's always nice to be at home. I love Sepang, love racing here. Always got a lot of support, and we tend to do quite well here.
And good luck today. All right, there you go, David. Alex Young, home favourite here at Sepang.
And a man to watch, certainly, the former Minardi Grand Prix driver. So he is going to be in good form, I'm sure, in this car that he shares with Alex Au. So Hunter Abbott will be the one to do the first target time, but we'll see where he's going to slot in on the grid come the end of this session then. We've got the cars pouring their way over the long, fast pit straight, including number 13 Audi, which is of Sun Jing Zhu, which had an off in the third free practice session, went into the gravel. But that car is good to go and setting, one hopes, competitive lap times. The lap itself, you've seen from the track map, divided into 3 sectors. You piece them all together, and then you start to look at lap times. The best of anybody in Sector 1 so far has been Anthony Nui in the BBT Ferrari 488. Best of anybody in the middle sector is Hunter Abbott, who is at the head of that little shot there. And we'll see shortly what is offered up as the target lap time. But bear in mind, Raffaele Marciello is the notional man to beat after what he was doing in free practice. A 2 minutes 3.328 is the target time. So a 2 minutes 3.328. Anything better than that should be standing you in good stead. That said, this potentially could be the slower session. There's a split really between the pros and the amps, although I hesitate to say that in the context of Tim Sugden or Jules Gounon, for example, because they are very, very competitive indeed. You've got some categorised as silver, where you've got 2, what you might call guns for hire in the car. The majority of the entry is Pro-Am, and this is where the bulk of the entry comes from. And then there is also the combination of 2 AM drivers, and everyone gets rewards for doing so in terms of trophies and a podium, even if it's points only for the top 10. So the best lap time then, offered up by 37, Anthony Liu, 2 minutes 4.362. In 37, the AFBBT Ferrari. Anthony Davide Rizzo is co-driver, 3rd in GT Asia last year. And Anthony Liu, very, very experienced driver, going back to Carrera Cup Asia. He's racing the Asian Le Mans Series, the Ferrari Challenge, so he knows his way around. And we've had news of a spin from number 11, which is Terence Tsay in one of the Caymans, or Cayman, and he's had a spin and rejoined. 37 you're looking at on screen. That so far is the pole car. So 2 minutes 4.362. It's Liu from Hunter Abbott. 3rd fastest at the moment is Marchi Lee in Audi number 5. And then that's going to change. Yes, because Jules Gounon goes up to 2nd fastest, 88. So the Porsche of the Craft Bamboo Racing team. I still think Jules Gounon and Joel Camathias will be dark horses, given especially the way that the Porsches went here in the 12 hours last year. They were quick cars. But 888 is Tim Sugden coming under attack here because flashing his lights, Anthony Liu wants to get on with this, doesn't want any traffic ahead of him. And if you want to join the discussion on all of this, at Blancpain GTA, Cap G, Cap T, Cap A for the Blancpain GT Series Asia. So right now, Ferrari monstering Mercedes on track, and as far as the pole sitter, Anthony Liu is concerned, he's getting caught up in the traffic, can't find a way past, but now you'll start to see, perhaps in a straight line, the Mercedes stretch its legs a little bit. There's one car in the background, oh, hello, off the road. I was going to say, one of the Caymans was going for the pit lane with a bit of confusion, and then Naoto Takeda has had a spin. Now, where is that? That's heading up towards turn 9, I think, and 39 is off the road as well. So it's all happening all of a sudden. Jiang Xin has parked it. So all of a sudden, the session becomes rather confused for some of the teams. I started all of that by saying there was one of the GT4 Porsches that was looking as though it was trying to find a pit in and failing. Then we saw the spin for Takeda, and then 39 has parked it as well, and a red flag because we've got more than one car stranded out on the circuit. So the session is stopped, and because it's qualifying, the clock stops as well. If it's free practice, a stoppage like this eats into the session. The clock carries on ticking, but when it's qualifying, the clock stops, and we have 8 minutes and 7 seconds still to go. There is the red. And that's the first of the cars that I was mentioning in the background that had a problem. That's 11, that's Terence Tsay. So that's in an awkward place. Now that's coming out of, is it not, turn 13. It's not on the pit straight, but that's on the equivalent of the pit straight, if you like, where the support race pits is at the end of the lap. 88 in the pit lane, that's okay. That's Jules Gounon. So just before the flag, up to second fastest had gone number 5, Marchi Lee. There's a Marchi Lee and a Jeffrey Lee, both in Audis, just to confuse matters at the head of the order. And they're both in this session, but it's number 5, Marchi Lee second. So it's Liu from Lee, from Gounon, from Abbott, from Jin, and then Mitch Gilbert, 6th fastest. There is 39, the car of Max Visser and Jiang Xin. And I think I'm right in saying that there's still one car that hadn't gone out. Was that potentially 18, Rick Ewan's car that we saw in its garage? Yes, I don't think that ever ventured out. So this actually, by stopping the clock, helps them potentially to get the drama sorted and get that car out at least to do one lap time and get it onto the grid. So the chief race director, Alain Adon, will try and scoop up all the cars, get the circuit clear, and then we will carry on. Fastest of those at the moment in GT4 is 77, which is Jean-Marc Merlin, the very experienced former historic racer. And there is 77 in the background. It's another of the Craft Bamboo Racing Team fleet, along with 88 nearest to us of Jules Gounon. Down the pit road comes number 10 of Byron Tong, former Clio Cup China front runner. He was the runner-up in that back in 2013, and he's been a regular in the Asian GT as well as the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia in recent seasons. So some drivers heading for the team, others have gone straight through the pit lane. I want to get back out. They're at the pit exit. They've gone straight past the team because they don't need to do anything. They don't need any work doing on the cars. They want to get in the queue and try and be first out. There is 86, which is the Mitch Gilbert Aditya Patel Audi, which Mitch Gilbert is behind the wheel of at the moment, former single-seater hot shoe. Raced in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship for a time, and also in GP3 oh so briefly. But 37 is the fastest, so a really good effort this by Anthony Liu. One of the joys of this championship, especially where you've got Pro-Am combinations, is to see how a car will rise and fall depending on which driver is in it. And it certainly promotes lots of overtaking. It also promotes two rather different looking grids. So we've got, I suspect, the order of this session set to be completely different from that we'll have at the end of Q2. So the Mercedes we saw out earlier. Lamborghini there, our first chance to have a look at the X1 Motorsports car, and also Vincenzo Sospiri's team running Lamborghini Hurricanes. The Sospiri car for Sandy Stuvik, the Thai Norwegian driver who has been the Euro Formula 3 Open champion, and Martin Kodrich, as well as a former single-seater hot shoe. And for X1, you've got Vincent Wang and Andrew Harrianto, who are also teaming up to drive a car in the 2 Lamborghini races that we have here as well, because there's a round of the Super Trofeo Asia this weekend. Right, as 39 is being retrieved, Jiang Jin, even though it's got Jay Kane on the car, that's a rather anglicised version of Jiang Jin. It's not Johnny Kane or anybody like that, Johnny Kane. So that car being moved out of harm's way, and we are just about ready to go. The pit lane, the fast lane, is getting busier now as more and more cars are released, and we'll have 8 minutes and change on the clock. Number 7 being pushed back is Jeffrey Lee in the Team WRT Audi, sharing, we haven't actually touched on him yet, but sharing with former Grand Prix racer Will Stevens, who's got a monster programme this year of GT Asia, Blancpain in Europe, and also the Audi R8 LMS Cup, the Asian Championship, when that doesn't clash with his European commitment. So he's doing a huge amount of mileage. But 39 is a stranded Ferrari, run through the AF Corsa team. It's under the banner of Spirit of Race, but that is a bit of a surprise, I would have thought, that one of the top Ferraris is in the wars. The car out of harm's way, and as that is now parked by the side of the road. Let's hear from Davide Rizzo, because he is at the moment looking at a car that's at the top of the times. Davide is with Renai.
Hi David, yes, I'm with Massimiliano Weiser. Look, your teammate was out there, number 39 today.
We are doing well. Unfortunately, during our qualifying, we just had a problem with the car. The car cannot restart, and we don't know what's happened yet, but we are confident to do very good on this weekend.
How did you guys go in free practice? Still feeling all right?
Yeah, the feeling was very good. We finished the third free practice in PD3, so we are confident even on the race pace. The car and the team are fantastic, so we are really confident.
I can see you're very calm and cool ahead of qualifying. Your turn in the car.
Should be my turn, but I have to hope that the car will send back by the tow truck on time, because the car cannot restart at the moment.
All right, David, good luck out there. David, I'll hand it over to you right now.
Thanks, Renai. So apologies, just to confirm, Max Weiser you've been hearing from, whose car is the one that's stranded. Davide Rizzo getting himself, I think, ready for his turn in 37, which is the quickest car thus far. Right, green flag is waved. We are back up and running then. So Blancpain GT Series Asia Q1 Part 2 gets underway. And the order at the moment, 37 Ferrari, which is the combination of Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo, from number 5, Marchi Lee and Sean Tong. So actually you've got a Pro-Am car ahead of 2 silver-graded combinations, Marchi Lee and Sean Tong, and then Jules Gournot and Gilles Camathias. There is number 5 then, second fastest thus far, and Marchi Lee at the wheel of it. Definitely one to watch. A flash of the lights behind as well from 88, Jules Gournot, son of Jean-Marc Gournot, former Formula 1 and sports car racer. And 7 minutes to go. Now bear in mind you're going to lose 2.5 or so for an outlap, and then you have to try and cram in a couple of flying laps. It's as I was saying earlier on, you don't get too many lap times in, so that interruption has done perhaps no favours to 1 or 2 who are looking to try and do a run. Some actually have not yet ventured out and may not even bother. Tim Sugden, for example, Daryl O'Young have not yet gone out, so you're not obliged to. If you feel you can go no quicker in the time remaining, then you might as well preserve the tyres and get ready for the second session. This lap isn't going to affect things because it is an out lap. It is the next one where we can start to piece it all together and see who's going to be quick. Number 5 then, the Audi Hong Kong entry, run by Phoenix, a team based just outside the Nürburgring in Germany, but with the 2 Hong Kong drivers, Marchi Lee and Sean Tong, behind the wheel. There is number 5 heading up towards us, down to now turn 14. which brings them round onto the pit straights and then onto a flying lap. The Sepang International Circuit with lots of different configurations that can be used, and it's the full version of the Grand Prix circuit this weekend. So onto a flying lap now goes Marchi Lee, at the end of which can he get himself onto the very top? Let us see. That's the car they're trying to beat at the moment. The gap between there, 37 of Anthony Liu and Marchi Lee, is 0.6 of a second, but then Marchi Lee to Jules Gounon is only 5/1000ths of a second. So very, very competitive indeed at the moment. .39 that caused that red flag of Jiang Xin is 5th fastest, so it's actually well placed on the grid. Might stay pretty well up near the top, actually, depending on who else can put together a quick lap before the very end. But by dint of doing a good lap early on, still looking quite decent, that car. Now we are starting to get bests in the sectors. Darrell O'Young is the man on a mission because he has just done, in number 99 Porsche, the absolute best in the middle sector. So Darrell O'Young looking as though this could be an improvement for him. See whether we can pick him up in shot in a moment, see where he is on the lap relative to 37 that you're looking at there. Turning his way now up through turns 12 and 13. Very, very wide indeed there goes Liu, as another good sector is offered up by Darrell O'Young. It certainly should be an improvement for number 99 come the end of the lap here. The pack all pouring its way there up towards turn 14, in the midst of all of which is Marchi Lee. And Mitch Gilbert in 86 has also just done 2 absolute bests in sectors as well. So Mitch Gilbert flying. Darrell O'Young goes second then. He's brought the gap down to half a second. It's still Anthony Liu fastest. But number 5, Marchi Lee, goes across the line. Does he improve? No, he does not. What about Mitch Gilbert in 86, who in a moment should break the timing beam? He's yet to complete the last sector. When he does, there should be an improvement, and there is. Mitch Gilbert goes fastest of all, 2 minutes 4.180. So 86, Mitch Gilbert's Audi, goes to the very top. Gilbert and Aditya Patel graded silver, and that car then up to the top of the times, run by the OD Racing Team, number 86. It's Absolute Racing OD by way of entrant. A team only formed back in 2014, but a very good effort indeed. So Mitch Gilbert, not only has he gone quickest, but he's also still on the money by doing an absolute best in the next sector, sector 1 of the next lap. Also pushing on now is Marchi Lee, so it's building up nicely. 2.5 minutes to go. Some are going to be able to squeeze 1 more lap out of this, but only 1 more lap. For 1 or 2, they might even get the checkered flag at the end of this. So as you look at 999, and another red flag is being displayed, a second red flag. And to be honest, that's almost the end of the session, because although a flying lap is 2 minutes 4, there's 2 minutes 19 to go. You'd be hard pressed to get an out lap completed and then start a flying lap, I would have thought. So to all intents and purposes, that's the end of the session, I would have suggested. Now, why the other red flag? The news is not yet apparent, but I'm sure in a moment or two we might well find a stranded car somewhere. So what that means is that Mitch Gilbert rolled the dice right at the right time, didn't he, by putting in the time and getting himself up to the very top. So a second red flag, and Mitch Gilbert the fastest by 0.182 of a second. We understand that the session will not be resumed, as I was suggesting. There's barely a lap time left in it, so the session is not to be restarted. Q1 will not be resumed. The teams now are having that communicated via the timing screen. So it means that history is made by Mitch Gilbert, because he is the first man with a Blancpain GT Series Asia pole position to his name. One of the nice things about a new championship is that you can start with a whole new set of stats, and there's no confusion of history. So it's right here, and for a car that has been looking good across the morning, it is the first session that it has topped. Free practice 1 was much yellow. Free practice 2 by the Rump Yun Audi that didn't go out in that. And free practice 3 by Raffaele Marciello and Hunter Abbott's Mercedes. So best bit of news so far this weekend for Audi. Definitely the best bit of news that Mitch Gilbert and Aditya Patel have had. And it is 86 then that does the target time. Now that's a grid already formed, so what we have in the second session isn't going to affect that, but just for the purposes of record, 2 minutes 4.180 is the qualifying time from that session. So Mitch Gilbert the fastest, as the rest of the field then makes its way into the pit lane. The championship, of course, like the European equivalent, sponsored by Blancpain, the very enthusiastic Swiss watchmaker, which has certainly had its profile raised hugely since its involvement in international GT racing with SRO. The Blancpain Endurance Series as was, then along with the Blancpain Sprint Series, became the Blancpain GT Series. You've got the Sprint and Endurance Cups. And Blancpain, of course, now sponsoring this Asian Championship as a delighted Mitch Gilbert congratulates the engineers. And Aditya Patel will now clamber on board that car, ready for the second qualifying session. So this is how we look at the end of Q1. Mitch Gilbert, the fastest, 2 minutes 4.180 from Anthony Liu, 2 minutes 4.362. Third fastest, Darrell Young, 2 minutes 4.880. Fourth, Marchi Lee. Jules Gounon, fifth. Hunter Abbott, sixth. And seventh, stranded by the side of the circuit. It is 39 of Jiang Jin. Eighth fastest, going the way of Sandy Stuvik from Tim Sugden and Ollie Milroy, rounding out the top 10. Aidan Reid, 11th fastest, and 12th is Jun San Chen, number 90. And the classification behind, headed by Alex Au to be 13th, then 14th fastest. It is the number 13 Milestone Racing Audi of Sun Jing Zhu from Jeffrey Lee, Richard Wee, and looking further down, the best of those from GT4 is where you find 24th, Nazim Asman. He is the driver doing pole position in GT4, but Mitch Gilbert is a very happy man indeed, because he is the man on pole position, and the Australian driver can tell all about his lap to Renai.
Yes, David, a very happy man. Flying lap from you, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good lap. I was really, like I said, I'm really surprised that I'm first, because we've got a few issues with the car, and I'm honestly, I'm really shocked that I was first when they came on the radio and said I was P1. I was surprised, but I'm glad that even when we have issues, we can still be on pole. That's a good start.
Competitive. I see Aditya getting into the car now. What can you expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think for him going out with all the pros, I think it's going to be tough with the issues that we have. If he can be in the top 7 or 8, I think he's done an amazing job. So. Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on some of those issues, maybe?
Yeah, we had a couple of issues with power steering. It's kind of the car's steering. When you turn into the corner, the car's steering away from you, and it's quite random. You don't know if it's going to help you or make it harder for you, so you're really just guessing every time you go into the corner. It's not that easy to drive. It's quite unpleasant, but like I said, if we can have these issues and still be on pole, it's a good start.
A very good place to start for the first race of the season, and we're here in Sepang, a good place for you to be racing at?
Yeah, I mean, I know I don't look it, but I am from here. I was born here and raised here, so for me to race here is pretty special, and also the team, all the guys from Audi Racing are from Malaysia, so yeah.
Well, good luck today, Mitch. You heard it from the homeboy himself, David.
Renai, thanks very much. Yeah, homeboy indeed. So, although we always talk about the Australian Mitch Gilbert, yes, he was born in Malaysia. And fair play, if you can do that lap time and get pole with power steering that's trying to trip you up on occasions, that is a mighty effort indeed. So, the drivers then now getting themselves ready for Q2. Still trying to get to the bottom of why we had that second red flag. Number 11 never got a lap time in, which is the Cayman of Terence Tsay. But the other one that's not shown as being in the pit lane, well, the 39 we accounted for, but also 27, which is Vincent Wong's Lamborghini. That has not yet been indicated as having come down the pit lane. That, I think, is 11, the Terence Tsay Porsche being brought back in. But as I say, there is that second red flag and the session will not be resumed. That means we get ourselves ready for Q2. Now this, with all due deference to the drivers you've just seen, should be even more exciting, because now you've got, in the majority of cases, an even quicker driver. So who's your money on for pole position out of all this? Alberto Di Falco, for example, will go in the FFF racing team by ACM, Lamborghini number 1. Ho Pin Tung, Chinese driver, for number 2. Sean Tong, Alex Young, Will Stevens, Rob Bell, Frankie Cheng, Davide Rizzo, Martin Kodrich, Joel Camafias, Jesse Krohn for BMW, Ferruz Fauzi for Porsche, Peter Lee, Jules Koviat, Raffaele Marciello. Those, I would suggest, are probably your top drivers in this session, all of whom have a realistic chance, a realistic claim on bagging pole position. So this could be absolutely fascinating in a few moments when we get the session underway. The first race, by the way, in the Blancpain GT Series Asia comes up this afternoon. It is going to be 10 minutes past 3 local time, and it will be live on the stream and live on television, so some great racing to look forward to, and it will be the race from which Mitch Gilbert will start on pole position. So this is how the classification is after Q1, with Mitch Gilbert's 2 minutes 4.180 being the gun time. You can see the gaps between, but you're talking tenths. Very, very close indeed between Gilbert and Anthony Liu. Daryl Young a further half a second back, and then another tenth between him and Marchi Lee, Jules Gounon coming next. But how much you can read into that session with the 2 stoppages, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody really got 2 flying laps together, did they? If you did, you were pretty fortunate. So the session due to get underway Q2 at 11:05. We are a little bit behind that because of having to interrupt the session and retrieve cars. So it won't be long, I suspect, before the session gets back underway. Down in the pit lane, driver changes in every car. Nearest to us is 66, the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing car, Martin Kodrich, to take over. Vincenzo himself, no mean racer, a long, long time ago when he came in the late 1980s to the UK as a Formula Ford racer, won his first race at Alton Park in the wet, and oh so briefly got to Formula 1. He was part of the disastrous MasterCard Lola project, but has regrouped and runs very successful teams. Did actually race himself in Formula Ford year before last at the Walter Hayes Trophy at Silverstone, but these days Vincenzo concentrates on running cars. That was the fastest Ferrari in Q1, 37, and now we'll have Davide Rizzo behind the wheel of it. And 39, I notice, has been retrieved, look, and it's there ready to go, with now Massimiliano or Max Weiser getting on board. So that car, which couldn't restart, has been returned to the team, and possibly by pressing Control-Alt-Delete, it's now fired up again. If it's one of those frustrating electrical gremlins, a restart and a reset will do. 88 now goes the way of Joel Camafias, former IGTO champion, the International GT Open title he was a winner in, raced in champ car racing in America for a time, and returning to GT racing for the purposes of the Blancpain GT Series Asia in the number 88 Porsche. He's done quite a lot of GT racing over his years, both in International GT Open and also in the FIA GT Championship, sports cars with the American Le Mans Series and the Le Mans Endurance Series also. So he's another experienced driver. Temperatures are going up and up and up all the time, and like ever at Sepang, you've got to cope with the humidity as well. The afternoon shower we had yesterday was a pretty heavy one, early afternoon, about 12:30. Are we going to have that today? Could it be that we even have a wet track to contend with after a dry qualifying when we get to racing? People that know about these things in this region reckon that it rains every day at some point, so don't bet against some rain falling either to affect the build-up or affect the race itself for today's 60-minute race. Mandatory pit stops, driver changes, and the field ready to go. There is 39, the troubled Ferrari from earlier on. So that car is getting ready to venture out in this second 15-minute period. The very distinctive Craft Bamboo Racing liveries adorning the fleet of cars. And in the middle of all of that, 77, the GT4 spec Cayman now goes the way of Frank Yu. He will take the car into this session. Another GT Asia front runner. He's racing the Dubai 24 Hours as well, been successful in his class in that. Alex Young, local ace, again, former Grand Prix driver. Started off in Proton 1 mate racing over here, but then ventured to Europe, drove in Formula Renault and British Formula 3 for a time, and had his spell for the Minardi Formula 1 team before racing in Champ Car, in Carrera Cup, V8 Supercars briefly, A1GP, sports cars, GT cars, and 3 times now Audi R8 LMS Cup champion. So very, very experienced driver is Alex Young. Looking there at number 19, which is ready to go as well, the KCMG Audi of Naota Takeda, but now Takuya Shirasaka will be behind the wheel of that car. Shirasaka, who's raced successfully in Super GT in Japan, as well as in the Japanese Le Mans Challenge. Another of the fascinations of championships like this is that it brings together such a wide variety of drivers, and it does very definitely start to bring back into the consciousness those that have been racing in Asia in championships that are competitive but perhaps don't get that much mainstream coverage, and the Blancpain GT Series Asia is certainly one that's going to put an awful lot of new names on the motor racing map, I would have thought, over the course of this season. So cars, I would have thought, were retrieved, but as yet there's no suggestion as to when this session is going to get underway, nor can I still yet really account for the car that calls the flag. Plot thickens. 39 was one that was stranded, but we've seen that be in the pit lane. The other one that's still not shown as having got down the pit lane is Vincent Wong's Lamborghini. Now, is that the car that's still out there somewhere, needing to be retrieved, I wonder? There is Sean Tong, who is ready to go in the Phoenix Audi, taking over from Marchi Lee, 4th fastest. So it's a quick car, but of course Sean Tong is up against some very tough opposition in this session. Former Carter, former Renault racer. And Will Stevens, with the door open in the Audi in the background of the shot there, gets ready to go in number 7. That's the Team WRT car, another squad that's been here for Sepang 12 Hours, and successfully too, winning in 2015. But Pierre Dieudonné is the man from WRT overseeing operations this weekend. Jeffrey Lee, who we saw out in that earlier session, very, very experienced driver as well. So not lacking anything on the driving force for that car, that's for certain. So the clear-up operation continuing, and then we'll get things underway. But the session just being held in abeyance for a moment or two before the cars are released. And as I say, it won't be long before everybody is released, ready to go. Another element of the championship that you've got to factor in is the balance of performance as well, because you've got cars with different configurations, all of which need to be equated, and that's something that the technical team have to try and bear in mind. So with ride height and restrictors and weight, cars, wherever possible, made to be as equal as possible to one another. So very shortly, as I say, we ought to be back up and running. The Audi, the fastest car in that first session, also one of the lightest. It weighs in at 1,250 kilos on the balance of performance. And the other Ferrari that we've been talking about, 38, Nasrat Mozayin. Time we heard from the Spirit of Race team now. Let's head back down to the pit lane and join Renai.
Hi David, yes, I'm with Nasrat Mozayin from Spirit of Race. Now you've been out there, it's a bit hot, don't you think? How do you feel with the car?
The setup was fantastic, so improved my time by a couple of seconds. I'm very happy with what I've done. The track has very good grip, and it looks like it's going to be a very nice race today. So actually,
You've raced here a few times. You know that it could rain. Do you like it when it's wet, or do you like it when it's dry?
actually, I'm better in the wet than the dry, so I don't mind the wet at all, and I'm much closer to my pro when in the wet. So,
What can we expect from your teammate as he goes out?
I'm hoping he'd do either second or third, you know. But I think Rui is one of the best pros around, and I'm hoping that we have a spot at the top.
Okay. Good luck this weekend, Nasrat. Have a good race, David.
Thanks very much. Nasrat Mozayin then. Work done for the moment. He has been a regular in the Asian Le Mans series in the last few seasons, but specialises in long races. He's done the 6 hours of Rome, for example. He's been here for the 3 hours. He's been the 2 hours of Fuji, all sorts of races. And Rui Agwash, somebody else that you can trace back to the mid-1990s, racing in Formula Ford in Britain, but now WEC GT class champion, so massively experienced, and another of those sort of light bulb racers. You just screw them into something, switch them on, and they deliver. We are about 4 minutes away, now 3 and a bit minutes away, really, from the estimated start of Q2. So now the team's being given that news, getting ready, and won't be long, as I say, before things are up and running then. With Mitch Gilbert having been the fastest and getting pole position for Q1, for race 1, which of course comes up today. So while we get ready for Q2, let's have a quick look at some of the best bits of Q1. It all began with the cars pouring out onto the circuit, with the Grupper M Mercedes being up near the front of the queue and trying to get clear track space as 999, the Hunter Abbott car, urged itself out of turn 14, and all of that torque working well on the pit straight. But it wasn't long before 37 Ferrari here became the gun car, as Anthony Liu managed to get up to the top of the times with a 2 minutes 4.362, and it looked as though that's where he might stay until off the road and bouncing against the barrier was Terence Say's Porsche in the background. That car stranded by the side of the road, plus others, meant that the session wouldn't carry on being live for much longer. The first of 2 red flags was not far away. As the teams looked on in the pit lane and had a look at the data, they also saw a spinning Audi as Naota Takeda went around. So the red flags flew, the session was interrupted, and there was also a Ferrari to retrieve as well, because 39 had parked by the side of the road at Jiang Xin. That car was retrieved and everybody went back out on track. A very crowded house, so those drivers at the front of the queue had the better track space, and straight away there were 1 or 2 on their toes, amongst them Mitch Gilbert, who managed to find a way through the traffic to get himself up to the top of the times, and he did it just as a second red flag came out, and that meant that Mitch Gilbert was on for pole position. A very impressive effort indeed. And so now we are getting ready for Q2. You can see in front of the media centre and hospitality and race control buildings there in the pit lane, this fabulous field all lined up. And having done his work in Q1, Marchi Lee now can stand and watch how Sean Tong is going to get on in Q2. But Marchi Lee's work for the moment is done. Time we heard from him. He's with Renai.
Hi, David. Yes, the cars are all ready to go out for the second qualifying, but I'm with Marchi Lee. You came in. How did you go out there today?
Yes, was the first one in Blancpain Series GT Asia, and I think that is quite okay. We are qualified 4th, but a lot of traffic outside, and it's very difficult for all the people. I think we do it again, and yeah, I think it's not a bad position, start 4th on the first race, but we can do better. But there's so many traffic outside, so it's a bit of luck.
A bit of luck. It is. You said it's the first time, as you said, the first time the GT Series is coming here to Asia. What's that meant? What does it mean to you?
I think it means a lot. We race a lot in Asia, and then finally Asia has become a very good market now. And look at this 30-car grid; it's just amazing. And to race with all the very high-level drivers here, it is really good fun.
Okay, thank you, Marchi. Good luck this weekend. David, I'm going to hand to you before our cameraman gets run over.
Good idea. Thanks, Renai. And the reason that he's in strife now is because we are good to go. Green flags fly. Q2 is alive and well, and now we can start to see how another grid set by completely different drivers is going to look. And the fascination here is going to be to see if you can find a consistent car, one that's up near the pointy end of both grids. So number 2 ventured out first, now with Ho Pin Tung at the wheel, who is Ho Pin for pole position. You've also got Jesse Krohn at the wheel of 91 BMW, the 66 Martin Kodrich, and who's behind the wheel of 37 there, Davide Rizzo. Well, we know it's a quick car, Vince, from what we saw earlier on. Number 5 just accelerating up now through turn 6, that's Jean Tong. 1 or 2 just backing off a little, letting the traffic go. Turn 7 and 8, effectively one corner, but you sort of take 2 bites at it. And then there's the short straight down to turn 9, which is another hairpin, and this time you sort of climb uphill a little bit as well. There's the raise, which this is where 39 parked a little while ago. So turn left, turn right, and then the road opens up a little bit around turn 10. Davide Rizzo there is a man on a mission in 37. And remember that the time they're all aiming for is that 2 minutes 4.180. That's the target set in Q1 for the first race grid. So Davide Rizzo, looking at this, has got himself clear road, hasn't he? He's at turn 13, working his way now into the final sector. Weaving around to get the warmth into the Pirelli tyres on which everybody runs. It's a regulation in the championship that it's Pirelli tyres, so there's no tyre war going on. Everybody has the same rubber, which of course therefore has to try and work on so many different cars. Davide Rizzo then making his way up towards the timing line. Through goes 999, Raffaele Marciello. Put your money on him for pole position potentially, the way that he's gone across free practice. Raffaele Marciello, former European Formula 3 champion then, turning his way out of turn 1. Very tight sequence of corners, that long fast straight, heavy braking, hairpin right, left, and then you turn right again. This is turn 3, speed building at this point. Up towards turn 4, road climbing, uphill, overtaking opportunity if you're pretty brave on the inside here when the need arises. And then over the brow through turn 5, which is the next left-hander. There's the crest. Speed building at this point through turn 5. It loops you all the way around. Turn right at turn 6. And then there's another short straight. Marciello wide. I would suggest that was all four-wheeled the wrong side of the white line. We'll see whether track limits becomes an issue. Drivers have been being warned about it across free practice. Out of the second element of turns 7 and 8. It's really one line all the way through the 2 bites of that corner. Short straight up to turn 9. Again, heavy braking here because it's a sort of hairpin. Almost doubles back on you, and then you have to turn right again up through turn number 10. This is 11. Tighten the line, take the apex, drop down. Again up on the curve is Marciello. But this is first flying lap. Through 12 he comes now. Then the run up towards turn 13, which is a long corner, and it tightens as you get to the end of it. Out of it now, onto the power, and this is where you've got to have the grunt, because there's this long, long straight up towards turn 14, and then there's an even longer straight all the way down towards turn number 1. So at the end of this, we'll start to see who is able to do very good lap times. The target's going to be Marciello, surely. Now, a 2 minutes 3 is the best of the weekend, a 2 minutes 3.2. He should be able to get below that, I would have thought, as he comes over the timing line. And he does, because it's, oh no, not quite, 2 minutes 3.4, oh so close, 2 minutes 3.416. Nearly, 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 but he once again is the benchmark driver. Davide Rizzo goes second, but he's 0.8 back. So Marciello sets the target time. Now, what about this? Rob Bell in number 12 McLaren. You do a double take because it looks very un-McLaren-esque in those silver colours. But very, very wide goes Rob Bell. That's coming out of turn 6. Last year's Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup champion, along with Kobe Lenegar and Shane van Gisbergen, even though Shane won it the same day he was racing in Australia. Comes now up through turn 10, through the right-hander. And how is Rob Bell looking in the sectors? Good, but not stellar, in fact. It's his first flying lap, so he's piecing it together. trying to avoid all the traffic as well. So Marciello is the fastest, and he's going to go even quicker again next time around, I will propose, because he's done 2 absolute bests. But the other one in a hurry is Rui Anguash. You heard a little while ago Nasrat Muzayin talking about how Rui Anguash was set to go. Well, Anguash is now the best of anybody in Sector 1. Rob Bell still pushing. This will be a decent lap by Rob, but I'm not convinced it's going to threaten the pole, but his next one might if he can steer his way through the traffic. As Alex Young goes top now, 2 minutes 3.248, best lap of the weekend. There's yellow flags briefly in the 4th and final sector. Alex Young is the fastest then. Looking good for Audi this, isn't it? 2 minutes 3.248. It is a brand that we've seen in the past that's able to keep its powder dry and deliver when it counts. Qualifying is when it matters. Rob Bell goes through them and is 11th fastest. So the British driver, McLaren factory driver, now onto a flying lap, a proper flying lap, you might argue. Alex Young, having gone the quickest, is down in Sector 1 of the next lap. So this may not necessarily be a stellar performance, this next lap, because he is about half a second, 6/10 or so down within Sector 1. So it's Young, Marciello, Will Stevens has gone 3rd, ahead of Frankie Cheng, 4th in number 13, which is the milestone Audi, and then Rui Anguash with 6th being Ho Pin Tung in the Lamborghini. 89 is about to get out of the way. That is Ringo Chong, who lets Alex Young go by. The reason we had that yellow briefly was that Max Weiser had a spin. So the car that stopped and caused a red in Q1 has had a spin in Q2, but got away with it. And Alex Young, we're looking at, it's not going to be an improvement this lap time, but it is currently the pole position car. What could be an improver is Raffaele Marciello. And we've got 37 grinding to a halt. Look at this. This is the car that was quick in Q1. Davide Rizzo at the wheel. And he's limping up towards turn 14. So Marciello on a quick lap might be affected. And red flag. He is going to be affected. The sentence started because he was going to have to lift with a yellow, was what was in my mind. But a red flag because 37 has stopped out on track. And with 7.5 minutes, give or take, to go, we have a red flag. So Marciello was on a quick lap and then has to abort it because of the red. And Alex Young is the fastest. There will be time for a restart in all of this. But Alex Young the fastest. Davide Rizzo was 7th fastest. And that car, Davide Rizzo, 7th fastest, parked by the side of the road. And big frustration, this 2 cars from the AF Corsa squad with dramas, 39 and 37 across the 2 sessions. So it's going to be another intriguing grid, that's for sure. And we will look forward to seeing how all this pans out, ready for race 1 that's coming up this afternoon. Remember that the first ever race in the Blancpain GT Series Asia will start at 10 minutes past 3 local time. We'll be on air shortly before that with the build-up and interviews with all the stars that'll be down on the grid as the drivers for now work their way down the pit road and get ready for the restart. Of course, when the clock stops like this, it does give you a chance, if you need it, to do some work on the cars without losing time, without that eating into a live qualifying session, as it were. And again, just as we saw in Q1, some of the drivers very, very keen to get themselves out there, ready for the continuation of the session. So, just to prove how competitive it is .007, the margin between the top 2. You kind of need an Aston Martin up there, don't you, if it's .007? But it is, at the moment, Audi from Mercedes, from Audi, the top 3. Alex Young, Raffaele Marciello, and then Will Stevens. Frankie Cheng, 4th fastest, Audi. 5th fastest, Rui Anguash, Ferrari, he says hesitantly, yes. And 6th fastest, number 2, Ho Pin Tung's Lamborghini. Still hoping for an improvement, I think, when the green flag is waved. Aditya Patel in the car that's fastest for Q1, 11th currently. So as you look at 91, the FIST Team AAI Jesse Krohn driven BMW. Being pushed out of the way is Davide Rizzo there. So that car in a moment will be off the circuit, out of harm's way. And shortly we can get things back underway. The nice thing about all of this is that it's not taken long to get the car out of the way, so as soon as he can, the race director will start the session again, and indeed the session will restart on short notice. That's the message to the teams. In other words, we're not going to give you a long countdown. We'll suddenly say 10 seconds to a green flag, because they want to get everything moving. Of course, the Blancpain GT Series Asia, part of a busy weekend of racing here, and timetables need to be adhered to. So time lost, of course, across these two sessions is not what officialdom needs, and we are 40 seconds away from the session restarting. So with 7 minutes and 24 seconds still to go, we will be back and running very shortly indeed. So for some teams, they'll only just receive the car before it's time to go again. And 86 at the head of the queue is Aditya Patel. So he is ready for the resumption of the session. The Indian driver, who's done quite a bit of racing in Europe, having raced in the Sirocco R Cup that supported the DTM for a time. Right, green flag. You can see some cars still being manoeuvred in the pit lane, but the green flag is being waved. The session is live, and out they go. Again, take 2.5 minutes or so out of this for an out lap. You don't have too much time in which to go for flying lap times, but we'll see how it all pans out over the course of the session. 98 sets off, Philip Marr and Ferouz Fauzi's car, and it is Ferouz Fauzi who is at the wheel of it now. So the clock counts down, eating into the available lap times. The GT4 fight in this session, actually quite similar to Q1, because it's the number 117 that's the fastest. You're looking at 89 now with Ringo Chong at the wheel, but 117 now with Sven Herberger is fastest. 89 Ringo Chong for the Hub Auto Racing squad. And that's another of these very, very popular Cayman GT4s. So next lap is when you can start to see improvements in sectors being offered up. 66 through shot was Martin Kodric, who raced in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo last season. And Kodric is a quick driver, so he could be another one to keep an eye on over the course of the weekend. Ringo Chong pressing on in the Hub Auto car. Another experienced squad, the Type A team. Right, onto a flying lap now go the drivers. So this next lap is the one that we can really start to gauge proper pace from. And remember, it's 2 minutes 3.248 that is currently the time to beat best of the weekend, done by Alex Young. You heard from him a little while ago, so the local hero looking very, very keen about this. And they go on to a flying lap, just to go back to my point, with 4.5 minutes to go. So it does take an awful lot of time to get everybody out of the pit lane and to do that out lap. Another car that's not gone out, number 5, Sean Tong, number 90, also Lin Yu has not ventured out. And of 30 cars, we've only had 27 do a time. So I think we can account for 11 Terence Say, which would make 28. Vincent Wong would be 29. And Martin Rudd's Audi would be 30, wouldn't it? That was the car that never went out for Q1. So there are going to be some teams with a bit of work to do in the break between this qualifying session and the first race. As you look there at the number 7 Team WRT Audi, that is Will Stevens, currently third fastest. The other nice thing about this championship, indeed, we've talked about it in the context of the Sepang 12 hours, is how you get very different liveries in this part of the world. Different colours, different paint schemes, different creativity. And the WRT Audi looking very un-WRT-ish, away from its customary colours. Will Stevens then goes through. Car that was driven by Jeffrey Lee in the earlier session. And over the timing line, Will Stevens now can hopefully go for improvements in sectors. We've only got 3 more minutes to go, so there's probably 2 laps he can wring out of this. Had I mentioned that Jules Szymkowiak had got number 888 up to 8 fastest? If I hadn't, he has, and Szymkowiak is in the mix therefore. Joel Camafias has been a bit disappointing though. He is only 16 fastest. Flattering to deceive. An improvement has come from Max Weiser up to 14th. And the lap of 88 has been cancelled. So Joel Camafias, having said he's not been sparkling, he has exceeded track limits and lost a lap time. So the race directors are now starting to get a little bit more concerned about drivers staying within the confines of the circuit and people having lap times affected as a consequence. Number 6, then Alex Young pressing on. He's on an outlap now, in fact. Joined in a little bit later. Who else is improving? Lower down the order, number 10 has just improved, which is the GT4 of Eric Lowe. And that now puts him up to 25th overall, third in class, Eric Lowe. As you look at 17 turning through, which is now Kyo Chang, another of the GT4 cars. He was the Taiwan Speed Festival winner in the GTN class a few years ago. And there is number 17. He's backed out of it, I think, now. Jeremy Wang did the first part of qualifying. Is that a problem? See. Picking up pace now. 1:17 is the fastest of the GT4 cars. Sven Herberger, another driver that's picked and chosen his races. He's been a regular in this country, in fact, in the Merdeka race, which he won back in 2007. The forerunner to what's now the Sepang 12 hours, effectively. Had a brief spell in the ADAC GT Masters a few years ago, but Sven Herberger going strongly. Knows this circuit well, as over the timing line there goes 86, that is Aditya Patel in the pole car from Q1, and the Indian driver at the moment is to be found 9th fastest. And that lap had everything going for it until he got to the end, because he lost time in the last sector. 3 personal bests, and then the 4th one was all a bit undercooked, so Aditya Patel doesn't go any faster. He's on the cusp, isn't he, really, of where the team expected him to be. I think Mitch Gilbert said to Renai that he was hopeful he would be in the sort of top 7, 8. Well, he's 9th and not a million miles adrift. We've only got half a minute of the session to go. So what I'm not seeing on the timing screen, perversely, and it might be all to do with temperatures still going up, are many improvements. We're getting the odd one, like Shirosaka, number 19, has just gone 19 fastest, but it's not lit up like a Christmas tree with absolute personal bests. Personal bests go green in the sectors, absolute bests go purple, and they are few and far between. So another car stationary look just by the side of the road. Is that one of the Lamborghinis, possibly, from the FFF racing team? Have a look at the back of shot there. Another car stranded. The checkered flag is out, so it's not going to affect the way the session runs. And it was car 2. It is one of the FFF racing team cars, therefore. That's Ho Pin Tung, who was stopped by the side of the road. You can do your own Ho Pin joke at this point on, I think. And sad to say, that's another car with a good driver combination with troubles. They get through free practice seemingly without any dramas, put the pressure on for qualifying, and for some of them, it all goes wrong. So the checkered flag is out, and very shortly, the last few cars will be through. The session will be at an end. 86 Aditya Patel. Can he improve before the end? No, he's down in the sectors again. And pits. Yeah, he bails. So there's no point staying out, not to improve. He might as well come in, which is indeed the plan. So in comes Aditya Patel. We'll have a look in a moment or two at the classification. As in comes the McLaren. Rob Bell gets sent to scrutineering. Where did he end up? Rob was 12th fastest, but I don't think he got a proper run in, really, did he? He was heading for one before the red flag came out, and then obviously the second part of that session just a bit slower. Curious. Anyway, it has been, as we always predicted it would be, an interesting start to the Blancpain GT Series Asia Championship, qualifying at an end. Alex Young it is who is fastest at the end of Q2, with 7 1/1000ths of a second between him and Raffaele Marciello. Will Stevens third ahead of Frankie Cheng, Rui Aguas fifth, and then before the problems struck, Ho Pin Tung sixth fastest. David Rizzo with problems, 7th, 8th Jules Shimkowiak, Aditya Patel 9th from Jesse Kroon's BMW, 11th is where you find number 5 in the hands of Sean Tong. And then Rob Bell rounds out the top dozen in the sole McLaren on the grid, ahead of Martin Kodrich and Max Weiser. Alberto Di Folco 15th, ahead of Fairuz Fauzi. Jörg Kamafi is only 17th from David Chimton-Biantaro. 19th is where you have Shirosaka ahead of number 99, which is Peter Lee, 20th. 21st in number 69 is Kenneth Lim. 22nd, and we're into GT4 now, is Frank Yu taking over the top time right at the very end from Sven Herberger's Invitation GT4. After that, there are the remaining Porsche Caymans of Eric Lowe, ahead in turn of number 17, the Porsche of Frank Yu, and to round out the times comes number 90, which is the Lin Yu car with problems, so I never got a lap in. 27 went out, 26 did a time, and the team's also being told that the 11:30 photo session has been cancelled because of the delays in the morning timetable. So the teams now have to start work in readiness for race 1. But a fascinating qualifying session we've had for 1 or 2 of the teams. They have got work to do, and all hopefully will be well for them before we get to the first race at 3:10 this afternoon. But that's our first look at Blancpain GT Series Asia, and we look forward to your company at 3:10 for race 1 in Blancpain GT Series Asia. Bye for now.